The fact that Disney's budget for Snow White 2025 was well above $350 million altogether when you're factoring in marketing expenses.
Disney's live-action Snow White, released on March 21, 2025, was envisioned as a daring reimagining of the beloved 1937 animated classic, the very film that laid the cornerstone of Disney's fairy tale empire. Starring Rachel Zegler as Snow White and Gal Gadot as the evil queen, the project promised to bridge nostalgia with a progressive, modern twist, all under the experienced eye of director Mark Webb, the Amazing Spider-Man. Yet instead of becoming a triumph, Snow White rapidly unraveled into a high-profile debacle, exposing deep fractures within Disney's remake strategy, a polarized cultural landscape, and the volatile nature of modern celebrity. A remake born from ambition. First announced at the 2022 D23 Expo, Snow White was met with cautious optimism. Disney billed it as an evolution rather than a simple retelling. The company hoped to replicate the box office magic of Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin while pushing the fairy tale formula into more socially conscious territory. Production, however, was rocky from the outset. Originally slated for a 2024 release, the film faced multiple delays. COVID-19 aftermath, reshoots, and controversial script revisions pushed it back to 2025. The vision was ambitious, expanding the original's modest 83-minute runtime into a sprawling, nearly 2-hour epic, complete with brand-new songs by Oscar-winning duo Benj Pasek and Justin Paul, La La Land, Dear Evan Hansen. Rachel Zegler, fresh from the critical success of West Side Story, seemed a natural fit. Her charisma and powerhouse vocals captured early excitement. Meanwhile, Gal Gadot, internationally adored for her role as Wonder Woman, embraced the challenge of portraying Disney's first-ever animated villain. Gadot's vocal commitment to the project was evident. She reportedly underwent an intense month-long vocal boot camp to prepare for her key number, All Is Fair. In interviews, she spoke passionately about exploring the deeper sadness and obsession behind the evil queen's vanity. Director Mark Webb hyped Gadot's casting as dangerous and magnetic, predicting the queen would become a pop culture phenomenon for a new generation. But reality had other plans. Gadot's performance, a shocking misfire. Despite the careful build-up, Gal Gadot's performance became the film's most glaring flaw, and the internet didn't hold back. Critics and audiences alike hammered her portrayal, with BGR's Andy Meek calling it a cross between a soap opera meltdown and a SNL parody skit. Viewers describe her delivery as painfully exaggerated and robotic, with jarring tonal shifts that made once terrifying scenes feel unintentionally comedic. The viral moment where she shrieks, "Are you against me too?" became instant meme fodder, spliced into Scooby-Doo edits and TikTok parodies that racked up millions of views within days. Even Gadot's much-anticipated song, All Is Fair, became a lightning rod for mockery. Critics savaged it as tuneless, awkward, and void of menace. Vulture crowned it the year's most baffling musical number, while The Independent reported that audiences openly laughed during its premiere screening. Despite minor defenses from outlets like Screen Rant, which praised her willingness to take risks, the consensus was brutal. Gadot's evil queen had backfired spectacularly, dragging the entire film into campy infamy. Rachel Zegler, a lone bright spot. Amid the wreckage, Rachel Zegler's performance shone like a beacon. Critics praised her vocal prowess, earnestness, and emotional range. Outlets like That Park Place heralded her Snow White as charming, resilient, and deeply human, providing rare authenticity in a film otherwise derailed by uneven execution. However, Zegler's excellence wasn't enough to offset the film's cascading problems. Despite her best efforts, Snow White opened to a soft $87.3 million worldwide, a staggering loss against its ballooning $209 million production budget. Disney's gamble on modernization and spectacle had failed to enchant audiences. Disney's remake troubles, a pattern that can't be ignored. Snow White wasn't a fluke, it was the latest in a worrying trend. Disney's live-action reboots have become increasingly polarizing. The Lion King, 2019, was criticized for being emotionally sterile. Mulan, 2020, suffered boycotts over political controversies. The Little Mermaid, 2023, faced racist backlash despite Halle Bailey's praised performance. In each case, Disney's attempts to update its classics collided with cultural flashpoints, creating as much division as admiration. By 2025, audiences had grown skeptical, even fatigued, by the studio's formula. Familiar stories dressed in CGI spectacle and identity politics, often at the expense of compelling storytelling. A powder keg, Gadot, Zegler, and political fallout. Unlike previous remakes, Snow White became an outright political minefield. Gal Gadot's past service in the Israeli Defense Forces and her vocal support for Israel during the 2021 conflict reignited in 2024 amid escalating tensions in Gaza. Activists and cultural boycotts, led by organizations like PACBI, demanded audiences shun the film. Meanwhile, Rachel Zegler positioned herself as an outspoken pro-Palestine advocate, posting Free Palestine messages on X and speaking passionately about Gaza at promotional events. Her dedication of a Hunger Games screening to Palestinian victims drew massive headlines and fierce backlash from conservative circles. The tension between the two leads boiled over into public consciousness. Gadot's Hollywood Walk of Fame ceremony in March 2025 descended into chaos, disrupted by rival protests. Disney, fearing more controversy, scaled down Snow White's LA premiere dramatically, opting for a smaller, less public affair. Behind the scenes, rumors swirled of a frosty relationship between Gadot and Zegler, though both actresses remained diplomatically tight-lipped. A deleted repost from Gadot's X account, seemingly shading Zegler's activism, added further fuel to the fire. Disney at a crossroads, struggling to walk the tightrope. As Disney tried to weather the storm, cracks in the studio's strategy became impossible to ignore. The studio's embrace of modernization, gender-swapped heroes, feminist themes, diverse casts, was increasingly framed by critics as performative progressivism rather than genuine storytelling evolution. Figures like Elon Musk slammed Disney for being creatively bankrupt, while conservative media outlets derided Snow White as the latest example of a woke empire crumbling. Financially, the damage was undeniable. Between extensive reshoots, CGI overhauls, ballooning marketing costs, and a tepid box office, Snow White was poised to lose over $200 million, making it one of Disney's most expensive failures since John Carter. Leaks from inside Disney suggested studio executives were deeply divided. Some argued for doubling down on modernization to retain younger, progressive audiences. Others pushed for a return to the timeless, apolitical storytelling that had once made Disney unbeatable. The legacy of a broken fairy tale. In the end, Snow White serves as a sobering reflection of the times. It's no longer just a story about a jealous queen and a pure-hearted princess. It's a snapshot of a divided culture, corporate overreach, and the dangers of ignoring storytelling fundamentals in favor of ideology and spectacle. Gal Gadot, once a bankable superstar, faces serious questions about her future outside of Wonder Woman. Rachel Zegler, while celebrated for her performance, walks away with scars from a bruising media cycle that no rising star desires. And Disney itself, long seen as the master of happily ever afters, finds its magic tarnished. CEO Bob Iger's promise during the March 2025 earnings call to refocus on storytelling feels both urgent and overdue. But whether Disney can truly recapture the timeless charm that once defined it, or if Snow White marks the beginning of a long, painful reckoning, remains to be seen. In a world increasingly at war with itself, even fairy tales aren't safe anymore.